Hey guys, I want you to think about something. Did you hear Christopher Watts say in one of his interviews that one of his cousin's wives, I think, and his wife got in some kind of a fight about money back in 2010? And they didn't speak again. I wonder if his cousin's wife was harassed on social media. Did you know that leading up to the wedding at the end of 2012, that even though I think Christopher Watts' family probably were very worried about him, that they were actually supportive of him and trying their best to get along with his fiancée at that time? Well, did you know that everything was just fine until she returned to North Carolina? And she told his sister that she was supposed to take the week off work leading up to the big day. And his sister said that she wasn't able to take the week off work, but that she would certainly be there for all of the get-togethers that Christopher Watts' then fiancé had planned. And she got fired. You're fired from the bridal party. Not only did Christopher Watts' sister get fired, but the ring bearer and the flower girl got fired too, and so did one of his cousin's wives. It sounds kind of like a Bridezilla story if you ask me. And guess what happened right before the wedding? Christopher Watts' family was getting harassed on social media. They were planning on attending the wedding, even though, until the harassment started on social media. And from what I hear, it was pretty horrid. And it was obvious that they were not welcome to attend. Well, the years went by, and guess what? The relationship that Christopher Watts' wife had with his mother was probably one of the healthiest relationships she had ever had in her life. 5.5 years went by with no problem. Granted, no doubt, her mother-in-law probably was walking on eggshells and biting her tongue. But they got along just fine. They got along so well, in fact, that when Christopher Watts and his wife went on vacation, even though her parents were living right in their home for 15 months straight, she wanted her mother-in-law to be there to take care of Bella and Cece while they were gone on vacation. When Cece was born, she wanted her mother-in-law there with Bella and with her when she first got home from the hospital with the baby. They got along just fine. And then, in July of 2018, when she returned to North Carolina, and I'm not sure, but I don't think that she had returned to North Carolina in at least a few years. Because as far as we can tell, her brother had never met Cece and hadn't seen Bella since she was about 10 months old. So she returned to North Carolina, and within just a week or two, there was trouble. She lost control. she had a meltdown. And she came charging toward her mother-in-law down the hallway, yelling at her, absolutely traumatizing the children with the look in her eyes, yelling at her mother-in-law that she tried to murder one of the kids, and threatening her that the kids would never step foot in her house again. Well, there was a birthday party planned for Cece's 3rd birthday. And after Christopher Watt's wife had her nut meltdown, things settled down, of course, and his parents and his other family members fully intended on attending the party for Cece. But you know what happened? Just like back in 2012, right before the wedding, when Christopher Watt's wife returned to North Carolina, the social media harassment started again. Right before the wedding, social media harassment. And then right before Cece's birthday party, social media harassment. Did you know that a young woman came forward last year and said that at one point in 2015 she was involved in some court case? I think her daughter was the victim in the court case. Did you know that she came forward and publicly stated that she suffered through terrible social media harassment? Now take a look at the last couple of years. I think you get my drift. I have a story to tell you, a story that you haven't heard yet in the case discussion groups discussing the case of Christopher Watts. Christopher Watts and his sister and his parents were very close to his grandmother. She lived right across the street, you know. And when Christopher Watts and his sister were kids, of course, their mom and dad both worked full-time to support the family. They both had really good jobs, and they were both committed to providing for their family and also for saving for their education, for their children's education, post-high school, of course. They were dedicated. They were committed to saving for their children's education. So they both held really good jobs. And it worked out really well to have Grandma living right across the street, because that way when the kids came home from school, they could head right to Grandma's house until their mom and dad got home from work. So the kids were very close to their grandmother. Well, before the wedding, when all of this social media harassment was going on, Christopher Watts wanted to see his grandma when he came back to North Carolina, right, for the big day. Even though he knew his mother was on the shit list of who it sounds like became Bridezilla, quite frankly. I mean, come on, she fired the ring bearer, she fired the flower girl, she fired Christopher Watts' sister from the bridal party, she fired Christopher Watts' cousin's first wife from the bridal party. And she was obviously engaged in harassing her future mother-in-law on social media. But be that as it may, Christopher Watts wanted to see his grandmother. And the day that they chose to see his grandmother for some odd reason, they chose to visit his grandmother when his own mother was right outside in the yard. Talk about snub. And you know what? In my opinion, talk about abusive. Talk about shitty. Combined with the social media harassment. I think it was absolutely psycho to literally wait at the end of the road and then seeing his mother out in the yard working in the gardens, choosing that moment to pull into the grandmother's driveway. Well, I think Bridezilla was pretty full of herself, quite frankly. Kind of a nana boo-boo. We're here and we're not going to visit you. We're not even going to wave at you. And I have your son so trained that he's scared shitless right now to even glance your way. So they head on into the house to see Christopher Watt's grandmother. And no doubt Bridezilla was feeling pretty proud. And Christopher Watt's grandmother let Bridezilla have it. She told her exactly what she thought of the games that she was playing. So it looks like the little nana boo-boo moment didn't work out so well for Christopher Watt's wife. Or at that point, bride-to-be. Funny thing that the grandmother was still able to come to the wedding. Funny thing that at that point, the attacks against her future mother-in-law got even worse. She probably knew that she couldn't cut down Grammy, right? So she continued on with feigning victimhood with his mom. I want to say something else about the case of Christopher Watts. We have heard incessant whining about the fact that Christopher Watts' mother didn't go to his wedding. Well, neither did his father, so why aren't you bitching about that? Neither did his sister. Why aren't you bitching about that? Neither did a whole lot of other family members. Why aren't you bitching about that? Why is the hate campaign against his mother? Well, think about it, and I think you'll be able to figure it out. Oh, and I have a question. Have you ever seen any photos of Christopher Watt's wife's previous wedding? I haven't either. Interesting.